is 7 o'clock in the morning and I am heading up there to try and, well, not try, do this rope solo of this first ascent. Before we go any further, we should establish what rope soloing, solo climbing, free solo, and any type of climbing with solo in the name actually means. Solo climbing is the act of climbing something alone. When it comes to big wall or multi-pitch climbing, then solo climbing can be separated into 3 categories. Rope soloing, this is where you fix the rope to an anchor and belay yourself up the climb, placing the gear as you go. This is the safest but most time-consuming and labour-intensive method. Then you have daisy soloing. This is where you use no rope at all, but you have short tethers which fix directly to the protection, and you steadily move these pieces of protection as you climb. It's a safe method if you have good gear, however only really practical if you want to aid climb. Then you have free soloing. This is where you have no protection and no rope. This is the quickest and least labour intensive way of climbing, but also the most dangerous. All of these types of climbing are categorised as solo climbing. The rope solo category can then be split into 2 subcategories, which are rope solo aid climbing and rope solo free climbing. Rope solo aid climbing is where you use the protection you place in the rock to hang and pull yourself up on, whereas rope solo free climbing is where you use the protection in the rock only to catch you if you fall. Today I'll be climbing in this category here, so rope solo free climbing. Just on my own today, so we will see how it goes. I haven't done this for a very long time, so hopefully I haven't forgotten anything, but here we go. We have harness, Dumars, some sort of personal kit there. We've got rack, a rope. Personally, I would like to use a different rope, but I didn't have one. Ladders, helmet, windproof, chalk bag, boots, water, daisy chains, solo device. I'm using a silent partner, some slings, a traction. I use this below the solo device, and a rucksack for stacking the rope. That's kind of about it. God, there's a lot of flies. And I'm going to crack on. I've just climbed the first pitch, so I fixed my anchor, fixed the rope into me, had my spare rope on the ground, climbed it, placing the gear, got to the belay, fixed the belay, abseil back down, so now I'm back at the base. Now I've got to either Dumar that pitch again or climb it again, but I think because it was quite easy, I think I'll just go on the traction, because I think it'll actually be easier than Dumaring it. Obviously I have to climb with the bag and my bits of gear that are down here. On this occasion it probably would have actually been easier to just free solo it because it was so easy, but the problem is, because the upper pitches are harder, I've got to take a rucksack with me, and so I can stack the rope on the higher pitches, and free soloing with a sort of like a rucksack and all your gear and shoes and water and rack, it's, yeah, not very good. So I think it's better to actually just stick to pure traditional rope soloing, even on the easy stuff, especially when you have a bag. So first pitch in the bag. So let's take a look at the climb coming up. It was first climbed in 98 at a grade of A2 plus 7. That means the hardest free climbing done was grade Norwegian 7, and then the more difficult parts were aid climbed to A2 plus. In 2019, Jon Egil and Yatzi freed the A17 head wall pitch. However, higher up the wall, they got caught by rainstorms and had to make an upward bail via aiding. So, the remaining A2 plus pitch and the route in its entirety was still yet to be freed. So that is pitch number 2, and now we're at the head wall pitch. I say head wall pitch, it's just like the main pitch. You can see on this belay here, I've got my cams pointing in the direction to abseil back down to the last pitch, whereas now I'm going up, so if I fall off, the rope's going to be pulling upward on that anchor, so I need to change my anchor around a little bit and make sure that it's good for an upward pull rather than a downward pull. So in this case it would probably just mean altering the angle of the cams a little bit, so rather than them pointing 45 degrees downwards, then I'll just point them 45-degree upwards. What you can do sometimes is actually like place another piece a little bit higher and then sort of run your rope and redirect your rope through that piece so then it holds the anchor up, and it's not like flopping down and the cams aren't rotating back into their other angle, essentially. Also, before I abseil down on each pitch, I just make sure that I like get rid of all my gear, like unnecessary weight. Like, I don't want that weight on my harness when I'm like dewmarring up or climbing back up the previous pitch that I've already done. So I was just like, either, you know, clip it to the anchor, lay it on the floor if we're on a big ledge like this, or do whatever like that. So this is how I would set up my anchor here. I've got the cams pointing in an upward direction, and I've attached the rope to the lower cam, and then I've equalised them off, and then have my main point from the equalisation point. So I do that just so that basically the rope isn't just on one carabiner, but it's on two carabiners. So you can see this is also the setup that I have. So I have silent partner, then I have the rope coming out the top of the silent partner, and then I have the spare rope coming out the bottom and going into a micro traction here, and I have the top of the micro traction facing upwards so that you can pull spare rope through it easily. And I tend to go for this underneath here. Some people actually like it on the gear loop, but I tend to go for it underneath, so if you are on hard pitches you can access it with both hands, whereas sometimes if you're on a hard pitch in an awkward position you have to pull rope through, then it's on the wrong side of your harness, then it's a bit of a nightmare to get to. That's the setup. Okay, that's enough chatting around. Crack on with the crack. Let's do it. I've now led one of the crack pitches, so I've got to dewmar back up again. So this is my dewmar setup. I've got going on a traction, an ascender with a ladder. Basically that's just because I can't be bothered to set up the other dewmar system, so I'm just using a traction because it's not really that far to dewmar. And then I didn't really have the right cams for the belay because I'd used them in the route, so I'm going to swap the belay around a little bit, make sure that the cams go in an upward pull direction, and then crack on with that pitch. It looks a little bit steeper, the next one. This head wall pitch was kind of alright, the first head wall pitch. Next one looks a little bit steeper, but yeah, all good. Smash on. Not much climbing in this video, is there? Just me rambling about rope soling and abseiling. But there you go, that's what you get. That is what you get. I am at a hanging belay, which is a little bit more complicated because you have to stack the rope in the bag, you have the weight of the bag going down, and then you have to also make sure that you've got a directional pull up for if you fall off on the next pitch. So I'm going to use cams in the belay and really deep in this crack. I'll have one piece pointing down and one piece pointing up, and then I'll equalise them off. That's basically, that's the theory. That's the theory. The next pitch looks definitely a little bit more tricky, a little bit more thin, so that could be exciting. I just want to get my setup and system right first before setting off. Currently my belay is an absolute junk show, so I'm going to clean it all up and make it a little bit better. The second head wall pitch went pretty easily, and then I found myself below the final A2 plus pitch, which hadn't been freed. So it's a little bit interesting. I've got to the right hand side of the ledge, and this looks a little bit more tricky than I thought it was going to be, to be honest. Thought there was going to be a crack, but it sort of looks like bridging. I mean, there are some good holds, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like little few wet patches. I mean, it's probably fine, but I should just be a little bit careful. So I've got my setup. I've got two cams down there in the break, and then I've got sort of like my first piece straight off the ledge here. Hopefully after this kind of steeper bit here, it will be easier. I think this could be interesting. I definitely need to pay attention, that is for sure. And have my systems good. Yep, it's not over. It's not over till it's over. Okay, so basically I did that corner bit free, came around the corner onto a ledge, tried to go up the original A2 bit, I think, just the top crack, and it got really steep, quite flaring, bad, like I just couldn't, yeah, I wasn't going to be able to free that, it was kind of dirty. So then I came around the, kind of put high runner in, came down, stepped round the corner, down, did a little down climb, and now I find myself in this chimney, and it is it's the greenest, mossiest chimney ever, but I'm hoping it's going to take me to the top
and it's not going to be too bad. Basically, I'm just going to squeeze into that thing up there. It's just, it's just blooming awful. Looks blooming awful. But I think that's going to be my freeway to the top. Yeah, I'm just going to have to get involved and go up there, basically. Get involved. Get green. So this was the final pitch. Here, up to here. Then you had some undercuts underneath there. Up to this sloper. And bridge out across onto this wall. I tried to go up that crack over there. That's where I had to bail, and not bail, but go down climb out right and then up the green chimney. But good, let's get this stripped and done with. There we go, topped out, bish bash bosh. Did all go free, but not by basically 3 meters at the end. Didn't go on the original aid line, so that's where I had to go down, do a little down climb and then climb the green chimney. But yeah, I mean, it all went free, did it all free.